evening, my LinkedIn family. How are you? We are meeting on this special day. It's our National Day, Independence Day, and it's a holiday. Despite it being a holiday, we decided to continue our show when everyone is at home. You can't go around and you can't move out much. So we decided to run the show. And let me talk a little bit about the show. The name of the show, as you know, is Cinnamon Chat with Amita. This is Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show where I bring different types of experts to the show and create value. And at the same time, I live stream this show to Facebook, as well as when you go to YouTube, you would always find me there on Amita Gamage YouTube channel. All the interviews that I have done earlier also is available on YouTube. So why Cinnamon Chat with Amita? Why Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show? This is to add value to, especially to those who are connected to me on LinkedIn. I'm connected to more than 15,000 close connections, relationships on LinkedIn. And of course, I have around 5,000 connections on Facebook. And then anyone who is not connected can go to YouTube and search my name and find these discussions. So we have been doing this for a while. And what else do I do? I'm an executive coach. Professionally, I coach very senior executives in organizations to help them find their true potential. And then apart from that, I also help individuals to brand themselves. I'm a personal branding strategist. Apart from that, I help B2B companies achieve their sales goal by working with their sales professionals. Now, we have been bringing many experts here, and last week we had an expert from the IT industry talking about chatbots. And today we are moving into a completely different industry. Of course, it's again marketing, but I would say one area where marketers have neglected, not used the full potential of this particular area of marketing. This is very important. Even if you are a large organization, it is important. But then, especially if you are into a medium-sized or small-sized organization, this topic would be very, very important. The topic is actually public relations, or in generic terms, you can call it PR. We talk about, even individuals, when that person is good with the rest of the people, we say, okay, he has good PR. That's what we say. But then sometimes maybe we are misusing the word PR. So I thought I will bring an expert, and this time an expert female, a lady. It's Nevindi. So let me bring Nevindi to the stage. Good evening.
Good evening, Amita. Good evening.
Thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very honored to be here with you today.
Right. So Nevindi has been going through a little bit of a tough day today. Her car had a small accident, and then she had a lot of network issues. But then finally, I was telling her, it's all right. If we can't do this today, we can do it on another day. But then she was determined, no, somehow we are going to do it today. I like the spirit. So let me ask you a few questions. First question, Nevindi, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? Now, you are a PR expert. You're doing so well in the PR industry. I would like to know whether you had this liking about PR industry when you were a school kid. How did you enter PR industry?
First thing is like when I was young, I knew I'm a very talk. I knew I was a talkative person. So my parents were also saying, "You're a chat box. You're never ending. You're talking, talking." So then what I thought was, okay, I felt like I can sell, I can market, I can become a marketeer first. So I initially started studying marketing in Sri Lanka, and of course, when I selected my stream, I selected commerce, and I loved what I was studying in terms of marketing. But then I started off with customer care, and then advertising, and then event management, and I felt like it's in my body, and I could maybe sharp the axe a little bit more. And here I am with you today, and I'm having a
Okay.
good talk with you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you got to have some passion towards it. I can see that
Yeah.
passion has sparked the whole thing. So let's say
Definitely.
hi to few of our fans. We have firstly joining us. Happy Independence Day. Okay. And nice to see you on special day. Looking forward to listen to this online event. Yes, I'm going to get the maximum out of her today. Right. And we have another fan joining from Australia. I think she's your friend as well. Hi,
Yes.
Virat. Thank you for joining. And then we have Chamit. Hi, good evening. Ruan, thank you very much for joining with us. And then we have Chamit, yeah, again. And then Wazir, good session. All the best. Yeah, we also have Nadun. He's a schoolboy and he's still joining us to learn. And
Okay.
then Ravindran, as usual, every week he comes here. So we have a fan base, who comes and listen here. And
Yeah.
my next question, Nevindi.
Yes.
Now, PR also could be a misuse word. No? So
Yeah.
what is PR? PR is press release or public relations? I mean, give me some definition into PR.
Yeah, so it's basically a misconception in the minds of all the people. I mean, when I say I'm from a PR company, a lot of marketeers, I mean, if I'm saying it loud again, a lot of marketeers do not know that there's a component called PR, that is public relations, establishing relations with the public. So that's the shortest definition I can give to the layman. So PR, it's always about the relationship that you're establishing, and I think it should always be a good one, because if you mess PR, that's the end of your brand or whatever you do. So yeah, PR is establishing relationships with the public. Yeah.
With the public. Yeah, I think sometimes uh, politicians, they know this very well, how to establish PR
Yeah. Yeah.
or relationship with public. But then marketers is supposed to do this. I am sure maybe we see that large companies
Yeah.
execute good PR companies, PR campaigns rather,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not small and medium companies. So let's clear about let's clear this doubt one by
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the history of PR? You can give us a little bit about, as far as you know,
Yeah.
history of PR.
So PR can go back to late 1890s, right? So PR is actually something like what I said was establishing relationships, but modern PR started off in 1900. If I may go back to the history, we call PR public relations, not a press release. That's the whole, once I said, misconception behind the people's mindset. So
Yeah.
why people find it difficult is because they are not interested in that area. But when it comes to advertising, people know what it is. PR is not educated in the minds of the students who start careers, but advertising is already existing. Advertising, marketing. So what I believe is, if this has a history of more than 100 years, I think we should formulate more education components to educate what PR is all about, which I'm definitely going to come into maybe in the next few questions. I can share with you as to who the father is for PR, because it has a big history and campaigns which went around the world. So I'm excited to
Oh,
share more information. Yeah.
all right. Okay. So we have a few more people coming and joining. Chamara is joining from Hikkadua. Okay. We have Devinya. Devinya, thank you very much for joining. And then Viraj says it's a good topic. Yeah. Apart from that,
Yeah.
while you are commenting, saying hi and all that, I also want you to throw a lot of question towards Nevindi, because she's not going to come again and again. So get the maximum out of her, right? And we have Rupesh, who says hello. Okay, now even before I go through all the basic questions, Nevindi, we have a
Yeah.
veteran in the creative industry who is asking a question straight away from you. So we'll take it. Yeah.
Shoots.
So
Okay.
he's Charit. He is a veteran in creative industry. I know Debni from long time. I want to congratulate her first. I have a question for her. What is the role of a PR in increasing brand value? Okay. I know
Okay.
uh, we are taking this question a little early, but then let's take it. I mean, we'll think about a
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Actually, I would like to simplify it this way.
Yeah.
Can PR increase brand value and equity?
Definitely. Definitely. So if I take the latest example, so we did one of the press PR coverage for one of the brands in the country listed in the stock market in Colombo. So we did just one campaign for them with the right PR strategy and the topic and the content, and we ensured that even the share value of the PR of the companies grew like within a day, right? It increased value. So the CEO itself congratulated us, saying, this happened, and we are glad if the customers like that, be honest with us, saying their brand value increases, their PR value, whatever they paid. I mean, they're really happy about it. So brand equity, if I may, I think Charit said, he
Yeah.
asked about the brand value. It definitely adds value, but with the right content and the right strategy.
Okay. So there has to be a well thought strategy behind the
Definitely.
whole thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the example you took, what you mean to say, did it have an impact on the stock market, the share value also next day?
Yes. Yes, it did. It did.
Wow, that's one of the best examples. Okay, so now a brand's value may grow slowly, but
Yeah.
then in the stock market,
Yeah.
the stock share value could go up and down, or it's very volatile out there.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that's interesting, and I'm
Yeah.
glad to know that you're also working with large corporations who are also
Definitely.
listed in the stock market. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's also say hi to few of other
No
usual
problem.
fans. Yeah. So we have Nirmala, I'm sorry, Nimila. Good topic. Thank you. We have firstly, nice to join in the where did she start the career? He explained about firstly, I think you need to go back to the interview and check. And we have Udayanga, good one. Hi, Udayanga. We have Tamit joining from Panadura. Tamit, thank you. We have Sandhun saying congratulations. Uh, okay. Uh, we have again another question, little too early, but then I'll throw it. What is your
Yeah.
opinion on knowing extra language for widen PR? For example, we must focus 700 billion, or it's actually 7 billion global
7 billion.
market. I
Yes,
mean,
definitely.
so he's actually talking about
International exposure?
yeah, international exposure. I think maybe we'll take this question little later.
Little
Let's
late. Yeah, sure.
cover the
The
basics,
basics first. Yes.
and yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Chamara, definitely we are going to cover that question.
Question.
Let me ask this question now. Now you talk about particular large organizations using PR.
Yeah.
what is your opinion about rest of the middle scale or small scale companies? I would say that they have failed to use PR. Do you
Yeah,
agree? If so, why do you think they have failed to use PR as
yeah.
part of their marketing strategy?
Yeah. So the I mean, it's very funny if I not in a sarcastic way, but it's very funny. Some of the clients, with all due respect, some of the clients really don't have much knowledge about the industry, PR industry. But when it comes to advertising, like I said before as well, they know what advertising is all about. They've been educated. Even the marketeers, unfortunately, are not well educated enough to know that this component can change. I mean, it could make a twist to the entire plot. So what I'm saying is they need to, I think, how do I say it? Sometimes you can say take a risk and do it, because PR is not expensive like advertising. The right,
Yeah.
I mean, the right funds with the right strategy, with the right PR company, you can formulate. I mean, it's growth internally and externally, not only. I mean, you can do anything with PR, which I'm coming to maybe the next few questions I'm going to cover. So yeah.
Yeah. So, so looks like the PR industry itself is responsible for not promoting PR.
Definitely, no, definitely, I agree with that.
Yeah. So you got to education. You got to educate
Yeah,
the customers. Yeah. I'm sure
definitely.
when they meet you, I'm sure you do it. But
Yes.
in a larger scale, it has to happen.
Yeah,
Uh, so, what are the other components or other tools that you use? I mean, we all know PR is related to press.
yeah,
Okay. So,
yeah,
if you could give us, shed some light about the whole gamut of PR here,
yeah.
what kind of tools are available?
So basically, press release is a tool of PR. Even advertising is a part, marketing is a part, and also risk, crisis communication. So it's a
Mm,
process of communication. So there are a lot of tools you can use: research, creating strategy. So if I take crisis communication, for instance, if you take an example, a brand in Sri Lanka, I would not mention brands, but a
yeah.
brand had an issue with the product that they launched. So instantly, because the thought leadership, the personality that they used was not the right person for the product launch. So then what happened was it started kind of going
Backfire.
wrong, backfiring the entire campaign. I mean, despite of the advertising team advising the client saying this is not right and this shouldn't be the case. If it's 100+ year old brand, and when you're trying to select a personality for the brand, a face for the brand, things can happen. And when the market is backfiring, we can use PR, public relations, as a component, and formulate a strategy to crisis communicate. So
Yeah.
in different languages we can communicate, like Sinhala, Tamil, English, not only one language. And people have the misconception of saying, okay, PR, it's okay, let's do only English. I mean, our country, 70% is rural, 30% is suburb. So I believe we need to communicate crises in all languages. So that's a bit of,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. So now sometimes the other thing is
Yeah.
people remember PR only when they face a crisis.
Yes.
You agree with me?
Yeah, yeah. Because that is
You know,
because
pe-
that
yeah,
is solely because they think like they just need to do one-off campaign and just stay still. Like, but if you don't advertise and give top of the mind awareness for your brand, unless if it's a many-year-old brand, people still don't buy. We go to a shop and we ask a certain soap. There's a name. Since I can't announce brands,
no,
there's a
no, let's
certain
not talk about brands.
type of soap that you ask, can I have this soap? And the shop
Yeah,
owner also gives us that soap without asking whether I can give you another option. So it's
yeah.
something like that. So you have to keep doing it.
Okay. Now, Viraj is asking about personal PR. What are the strategies that we can develop personal PR?
Yeah.
Viraj, I think there's a lot of questions coming from the audience with regard to corporate PR. So we will pay attention to corporate PR, but I would advise you build your personal brand that will
Yeah.
automatically look after your personal PR as well, and do networking.
Absolutely.
That's the shortest advice I can give you as a personal branding expert. And then we have Chamit. Chamit says, okay, let's see what Chamit says. What are the weaknesses in PR? I mean, we we only talk
If
about good side.
yeah, but
Uh,
I
where
can
can
maybe
PR
share.
go wrong?
Yeah. So PR can
Yeah,
also go wrong if you don't communicate the right content, like I always said, like the right strategy should be properly checked through, and it should be properly given out, because I do understand PR is still in the process of embracing the technology, because I myself, I've seen influencers, thought leadership, and other advertising, digital advertising. We are a little lagging behind because it's papers and online newspapers and maybe other modes, but there could be a possibility of it going wrong if you do the wrong how do I say, the strategy formulating, because everything behind PR has a strategy. We need to do research, like I always do. I mean, for me, if I get a client, I ensure that I go through as much as possible in terms of findings as to what they have done before, so that I will not go wrong in my maybe PR and marketing and execution.
yeah. So just because you use PR, it's not this magical pill. Okay, you take the pill, everything is going to be all right. There has
No.
to be a well thought strategy behind it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there's a difficult question coming towards you, Nilindi. What are the measuring tools you use to determine the effectiveness of PR? I mean, when it comes to budgeting, even
Yeah.
PR could be a much more cheaper tool, or it's not so expensive as other things like advertising. Uh, as a company owner, someone who is allocating a budget, they always look at the return on investment. So the
Yeah.
effectiveness of your PR campaigns do matter. How to
Yeah.
measure that?
Well, I won't say I'm lost in the question. I mean, this was something that most of my clients always ask me: how can I measure whether the PR campaign is good when you're doing something? I mean, despite of them only spending a small budget, but I mean that is still a budget, right? So, what I would
Yep.
say is it's very difficult to measure, like just like advertising. When you put an advertisement on TV, there could be the reach and everything. There are stats that we can give for online PR and offline PR too. But correctly measuring like the effectiveness, it always will depend on the, how do I say, when customers come back to you and say, okay, I saw this article, I heard about it, because it's a communication process that we are going through. And mostly it's storytelling. So if you do the right storytelling, you will know how effective it is. It will come back to you. That's my shortest way of giving, but difficult to say we can measure per se like advertising, but it'll be very effective. Yeah.
Yeah, effective. The impact is felt more deeply than an
Deeply.
advertising,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when you advertise, it is like you are talking about yourself. Buy my product. My product is good. Whereas in
Exactly.
PR, yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask another uh, question. You also mentioned about storytelling. I generally consider myself as a good storyteller, and I know the
Storyteller.
impact of stories. Yes, I mean, I consider my 11-year-old son also is a good storyteller, and you can see
Definitely.
the
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So, how can actually PR influence and create a change? Maybe you
Yeah.
can, without using brands, you can take an example or whatever. How can it influence?
So, there are some banking products or financial products that have actually touched emotionally with their stories. I've seen so much of advertisements. I will not go to advertising, but I'll come to that point. So we know
Yeah.
that PR creates an emotional connection, just like some advertisements we see on TV, we hear on radio. They create the emotional value, like the connection. So, I mean, for a brand to make a change, it should be felt within to a person. So, I think the right, how do I say, the emotional connection to the brand would be felt by your storytelling to the people, and it will create change eventually. I'm not saying to do 100 campaigns, then you can actually create a change influencing, because marketing is there to analyze the audience. Marketing, advertising, we have different components, so all these components getting together will be a bigger tool for PR to influence and change. I wouldn't say PR only sometimes change everything. Nowadays, since PR is also like online, digital, technology is taking over everything. Like we rarely, look at maybe the green grass or go out to the beach or move out with the family. We are always on the phone. So everything is digital now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Uh, we also have someone who was always joined, Vijita. Hi. Got late to join, but you can always go and watch the replay. And
Yeah.
then the other one is, can we, this question came earlier as well. Can PR
Yeah.
connect global? Let me also rephrase the word. I mean, you are running a PR company, right? If a
Yeah.
global brand approaches you and say, oh, let's say a regional brand, I want to have this PR campaign run across Asia Pacific region.
Yeah.
Are you? Can you do it? It can be done only by large organizations, or can even medium-sized organizations utilize PR as a global or regional campaign?
Yes. So my company, if I say I started off 1.5 years ago, and I'm proud to say I'm in the process of finalizing certain partnerships with other countries like Singapore and United States and Malaysia and few countries, Australia. So I had plans to go to other countries and create relationships with the other PR companies. And I do follow most of the global PR companies at the moment, and I've been messaging them and having talks with them. So now, currently, in the process of finalizing partnerships, but I'm definitely my company. What I'm saying is, if a client comes on board and say, okay, what can you do globally? How can you create change or make impact through our PR? Or Sri Lankan brand wants to go global. I still have a
Yep.
solution, but still in the process of finalizing certain relationship matters with the partnerships. But it's mandatory
It's
for us
possible.
to be, yeah, it's possible for mandatory for us to be globally aware as to what's happening. So I am saying it's possible, and it's very crucial to have global partners. So I'm in the
Yeah.
process of doing it. Yeah.
So superb. So those who are preparing your annual marketing budgets, watch Nevindi's space. If you are thinking about, having some PR campaigns in USA, or maybe in Singapore, Malaysia, maybe it's a matter of, connecting with Nevindi and ask her, okay, we are thinking about going regional, global, how can we work together? So
Yeah.
watch her space. Yeah. So
Yes.
we have a friend from Australia, and she's asking, how do you squeeze into the corporate world with your expertise of PR when PR is not as popular as other marketing components? Like what she's asking is, how do you convince
Yeah.
an organization to look at PR?
So what I would say is, right now, I mean, I'm actually very grateful and lucky that I'm getting inquiries and I'm converting them into business and sales. So if I have to convince somebody for PR who doesn't have not like a single amount of knowledge about PR, I would demonstrate what PR is in the first place. And then I would show what are the campaigns that we have gone through and what we have done and how PR has made an impact in global and local. Not us saying we have made a global impact, but how PR as a component. Because true, I mean, not like advertising, a lot of attention is given to PR, but I believe because PR is crucial for companies, it needs to be a mandatory component, just like marketing, just like advertising. So the strategies, I think, Mekhala, I would say, I see a lot of people, I mean, asking me, okay, how do you use a strategic approach to maybe popularize my brand? Can I get inquiries fast as possible? There's an approach as to how you do PR. You have to keep doing it, not just once. So there are methodologies that we use because it's a strategic approach that we take. I mean, I will not reveal all the secrets, but building strong relationships. That would be the best thing I would say. So with your public, I think best piece of advice is to build strong relationships. So we help you for that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. A lot of things, lot of questions. I mean, I have a set of questions. I mean, even before I ask these questions, the audience is asking all the questions. Thank you very much for being part of the show. This is what I really enjoy creating value. Now, you were talking about storytelling.
Yeah.
And I see one of the biggest problems that especially small and medium-sized organizations do, even in their advertising, most of the time their advertisements and their campaigns are product-centric. So when you say, I have these features in my phone or my car, you lose the story there. There's no story. You will say it has a 1500cc engine, or it has this chip and that. There's no story to it. So storytelling is heavily used in PR rather than advertising. Yeah.
Yes.
So can you tell a little bit more about importance of storytelling? Maybe not only in terms of PR, but whatever you do in marketing.
Yeah. So if I just go away from PR a little bit now, as we know, YouTube trend is actually increasing day by day. I have a family member who is also a YouTuber, so I see a lot of YouTube activated missiles, in Sri Lanka right now, using it in good terms and bad terms both, unfortunately, because see, all these platforms like social media to advertising to PR, we can use in different ways. What I'm saying is how PR could be used as storytelling mainly would be not only, like I said, press release. It could be developing emotional connection once again, because it's very important to target your message in the right manner. Our people don't believe in emotional connection, but we being Sri Lankans, we have to touch the heart with the message rather than always, selling a product. Okay, we launched it, now go and buy it. It's in the market. So what I advise my clients is, okay, this is not the right way. Maybe we should approach. Let's be a little emotional centric. We are always touched, we us and Indians, if I mean, no offense to them, because our heart is very, how do I say, emotional based than most of Sri Lankans, because we are hospitable, we are very we help people. So understanding the right audience and the target audience will help you to deliver your message through PR. So it's credible, yeah.
Okay, so bringing storytelling into all the elements. Then the next question. Now we have a question from the audience. We have Sundar. Sundar is asking, in which situation is the technique of PR most appropriate? Now we know whenever there is a crisis, organization jump into PR. Maybe at the time of launch, when they have a product launch, they jump into PR. But in between, PR is not given the proper value. So his question is, where you can use PR other than crisis management and launching of a product?
Yeah. So communicating your financials, sometimes if you take a company, it's always best to attract investors, to attract more, how do I say, people to your product or the service. Communicating your values via PR. I would say that whole communication approach, because it's always establishing trust amongst the public and the organization. So, communicating anything and everything is not going to work out. But you need to, how do I say, communicate the right message. At the same time, it's okay to say, okay, we have achieved this amount of financials, we have done so well, awards, celebrations. A lot of press release articles do run. I mean, there's also a misunderstanding where companies believe if we put a press release on our award, because this award thing is happening these days. Okay, our award, this award, it's not only awareness, but also communicate your brand value with it as to why you got it is important. Because a person who
Yeah.
looks at an article to say, okay, we have got a silver award for this particular from the awards company, or maybe the award presentation party, you have to communicate as to why you got it. It's important, because how does a person who looks at an article or a campaign understand there is a fact. Okay, I look at an article, say, okay, we got an award, but we need to communicate the right facts. So
Yeah.
I believe the story should be said in a proper manner, so people understand it well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that answer. We have Akam, I think he's still in Russia. Uh, Nevindi, what tips would you give a small business? Now, he's very specifically asking this
Okay.
on behalf of small businesses.
Yeah.
In developing an effective PR strategy. I'm sure there are a lot of small businesses who have joined even at this particular moment, and they must be thinking, what do I do as the first step
Yeah.
in getting into PR? Okay, you can say, oh, talk to me, then I'll help you. Yeah, but then other
Yeah.
than that, is there anything else that they could do as a small
Uh,
business?
Yes. So when it comes to a business, some of the customers ask me, like small companies, startups mainly. They ask questions like, okay, how much does it cost for a campaign? And when I say this is the amount that will cost for the campaign, sometimes they say we don't have budgets. This is the problem. So what I say is, I do understand certain companies like startups. Even for me, when I started up, for me to do my own good PR, I was struggling. But then you can use platforms. So it's a matter of using your social media and PR together. So I believe using all methods like marketing, advertising, and PR together is a good approach, because nowadays, as I always told throughout the conversation, technology is fast moving. Um, I might not do justice for your question right now. I just want to think about it more. But I would say, I mean, if you come on board with us, we have a component called Good PR in our company itself, where we do free PR for the startups. But that would be given on a very carefully researched and thought after selection. So strategy, in the sense, like it's just like marketing. I believe releasing a press release wouldn't do justice for a startup, right? So I would advise using your social media and your campaign. So we have a 360. We understand you would not have budgets for advertising, but it depends. So we are there to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me also ask this question. Let's say that a client is coming to you
Yeah.
and you want to do a bit of a research about the client to prepare the
Yeah.
PR strategy,
Definitely. Yeah.
right? And then you have to get the history, the awards that they have received, and
Yeah.
whatnot. Right? What's the most
Yeah.
struggling area when you get a, probably, let's say, small or a medium company who has never done PR before, and you are
Yeah.
trying to understand customers' history, their success stories? What's
Yeah.
the most struggling part?
Um, what I would say is getting information. Sometimes, since they don't know what PR is, they wouldn't know what to give also. Like when we ask, okay, this is what we need, they'll say, we have never done PR. Do you think it's going to be successful? So, what I would do is, I'll sit with the customer and I will talk to them very carefully and be like, because we do personal, like we talk personally, like we'll say, this is what, if you do this type of content, if you do the right way, with your first PR campaign, we would make awareness. So it's not only one thing that you should do. There are several things that you can do and you should do. Just like a doctor say, okay, you should have this tablet before meals. You should have it before meals. Otherwise, if you have it after meals, it's going to be a problem. So I would say it's a very how do I say? It's a very personal touch, building trust. So we yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That tells the story. So it is each time it is contextualized, it is
Yeah.
personalized to
Yeah.
that particular business. One
Yes.
PR campaign. This is another misconception. Okay, let's say I'm a content writer, or
Yeah.
maybe I know how to write.
Yeah.
So I write and I publish. So I
Yeah.
can do it for 10 brands, but
Yeah.
it is not going to be the case. Each one has to be
No.
different. Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yes.
content part, since you use the word content,
Yes.
that's the trick.
Yeah, because see, you can do different types of content, but when it comes to dissemination of the content, you should be very careful, because you shouldn't use all the platforms to disseminate. You can use certain platforms and a certain time period, because some customers have the idea of, okay, let's do a campaign and let's push it tomorrow. It'll be fine. So when we advise, no, it's not the right time. I mean, I think, because after looking at it in a big, how do I say, not in a small manner, a big manner, I think they should be able to understand, because them spending and doing a campaign is not the case for us. Value for money is what we want to give, but there's right timing, right content, right approaches. So I think we should be very patient. Even doing advertising, we do go through that. You can't advertise every day, but maybe the right timings, like the
Yeah.
morning hours and the evening hours, and social media posting. There are times that we see some certain content appearing. Depends on the algorithms and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my next question is, can PR disrupt a business?
definitely
Not
yes.
oh, okay. I want you to explain that.
Um, so disrupting a business is not. See, there are companies that have actually done very successful PR campaigns. If I may go back to this gentleman that I was talking about, the PR father figure. Let me just pull off my notes. Yeah, so Edward Bernays is the PR father, known as the PR father, and he has refined and promoted the practice of press release and certain other things. So he did a campaign in America where, if I just, this is an example, but this is a live campaign that was done by him. So he did a campaign for smoking, because women are not meant to be smoking according to the people's perception. Only the male
Yep.
is supposed to be holding onto the
Supposed.
cigarette. Yeah. So he changed the conception of smoking, meaning what he did was he launched a campaign called Torches of Freedom. He wanted to use the cigarette as the torch for freedom, and he communicated. Let me open my document. I just want to read it to you. In
Yeah,
1929,
please.
the Torches of Freedom, it's a campaign, equated smoking in public with female emancipation. Like, some women had been smoking decades earlier, but in the dark. Nobody is seen. If you see a woman smoking out in the public, what they say is she's not a good woman. That's the idea behind it. So
At
Bernays
that
wanted
time.
to, at that
At
time,
that time.
at that time. But still, I believe that conception, that whole perception is still, it's still there. I mean, when we see, because when I walk out with my
Yeah.
male friends, they say, oh, there's a girl who's smoking. So what I'm saying is that phrase, torches of freedom, was used to encourage women's smoking by exploiting women's aspirations for a better life during the earlier 20th century. This was a very, very old campaign, but a very successful
So,
campaign.
so it was a PR campaign.
It was a PR campaign, just a PR campaign. And he was very successful enough to launch it and say, okay, I mean, it's not only for male, it's also for female. You can go ahead, smoke, but in public. But I don't advise that to my audience right now. But
Yeah.
this was a
No.
campaign.
Yeah. So this
Gender
is basically,
equality.
I mean, yeah. Also, this is answering my question whether it can disrupt a business or a industry purely
Definitely.
using PR. So this is the example.
Yeah, and also, if I may tell you, this was a significant moment for fighting social barriers for women
So
smokers. There are women smokers in the world. I mean, there are people who are fighting with the fact that, okay, if they are seen smoking, their whole reputation is gone for a six. But
So
what I'm
Navin,
saying is, this is, yeah,
no, it's not only smoking. Like, I'm sure
yeah,
there would have been so
most of
many
the
other
things,
PR
yeah,
campaigns that would have been used
significant, yeah,
to
yeah,
run inclusivity. Inclusivity.
yeah,
I'm sure.
inclusivity,
Uh, you
yes,
know, yeah. So it's not only about smoking, but then when like women getting into. I mean, we see after so many decades,
yeah,
just a vice president, female vice president in US. I mean, after so many
yes.
presidents, so it takes
Yeah,
certain amount of PR to change ideology in the society. That's
exactly.
the whole point out of
Yeah.
this.
So there
Yeah.
is a lot of disruption happening with the brands in the world, not only in Sri Lanka, because towards the end of the conversation, I would be glad to maybe mention a few names of the books about PR and some authors that you can go ahead and maybe search for to know more about
Yeah,
PR.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I have some questions about, how can someone learn about PR and how to
Yes.
enter the industry? I mean, keep them for towards the latter part. So now we
Sure.
have a question from Asita.
Okay.
Asita is asking, can you share 3 key things we should not do during a PR campaign? Okay, you are now successfully running a PR campaign.
Okay.
What you shouldn't do also during you are running a PR campaign, hey, don't do these things while you are
Yeah.
running the PR campaign.
Yeah. Because the
Some certain things.
the leverage is fully given on PR, meaning how do I say? I'm sorry. The leverage is given through PR, so it means you can't divert your attention from PR or another component. Like you do influential marketing, it's okay. It's supporting your PR campaign, but you shouldn't divert it into another at the same time. Let's take an example. If a food company is doing a PR campaign about their nutritious products, they shouldn't be also doing other campaigns at the same time, because it's going to be disturbing. It's one at a time approach, and a carefully thought one. So if you're doing a campaign via PR, you should do it very thoughtfully, and it's just one at a time without mixing the other platforms, the tools. So yeah,
So what you say is there has to be a great synergy. If you run anything else outside PR, that has to also support PR, but it
synergize.
shouldn't
Yeah,
take
yeah,
away the. Yeah. Okay,
yes,
understood.
exactly.
Yeah. So I hope we have answered Asita's question. Uh, we we have another question, Mohan. From Mohan, I anyway wanted to ask you this question: what is the impact of digital media on PR? So let me rephrase the question
Yeah,
now, especially for people like me,
yeah,
coming from the older generation, the mature generation. The moment you say PR, my brain connects me with newspapers,
yeah,
But then,
yeah,
as look at this, you and I are having a conversation on Sri Lanka's first LinkedIn live talk show. Now that talks
absolutely.
about what else it could do. So my
Yeah,
question to you is, when there are new platforms,
Yeah.
digital platforms, websites, social media platforms, we talk about audio platforms,
Yeah.
are PR excluded from these platforms, or have you, or whether PR is also well mixed with them? What happens?
It's actually well mixed. It's well mixed because the incremental progress of technology. Once again, why I'm taking technology is that it's affecting the industry, like our industry, because at the pandemic timings, it's still the pandemic, but in the midst of the pandemic, we were doing some campaigns which were very successful. True, we understand it's not only a paper. I mean, papers were never printed while COVID. There was only an online platform or platforms for people to approach to know news about maybe their daily newspaper. I mean, to see news and to talk about it.
Yeah.
Influencers were talking about the things which are happening, and the only way which we got while pandemic was the TV, the radio, the online platforms. So digital PR is existing, and also digital media is a very big impact, making a very big impact for PR, because we are still embracing the technology. I mean, as to how we are doing the campaigns and how we are doing our marketing to do our PR. So with the technologies in the coming decades, we need to kind of adjust the ways that we do our PR. So as PR professionals, we must think about the future of PR with these technologies. So we should go alongside the technologies, I believe.
Yeah. So we also have around maybe 7-8 minutes, and then I also would like to talk about Pick a Book. Every week, by courtesy of Pick a Book, we offer a book to one of the fans here who is commenting to us or who is asking a good question. It's not a competition, so there are no winners, but then one lucky fan will receive a book courtesy
Yeah.
of Pick a Book. So I would like all of you to go to their website www.pickabook.club and explore what they do. Just go to one of those club meetings and listen to someone presenting a book. So that will happen towards
I
the end. We are
yeah, I
actually
want to.
nearing the
I
end. Even though there are so many questions, let me look at a few more questions. Yeah.
Sure.
Um, Now, is, there are product companies, there are
Yeah.
service companies. So the approach of PR towards product and service, are they the same, or you have different approach towards them?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question once again, Amita. Sorry. The product and service, is it different types of PR? Is that your is that what you're referring to, or
No, there are companies
yeah?
who are product, and then yeah, you do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
approach of PR is very important, and it should be well thought. Despite of it being a PR, sorry, service or a
So
product,
can you
it's in
explain about that?
yeah.
When product companies are using PR and service companies are using PR, is there a difference?
Not a major difference, but once again, why the content is important is because we mix it with the story as to how. If it's a service, we know we can do it better when it comes to storytelling, and when it comes to because there is a touch, but for product we can't do much when it comes to how do I say storytelling. We can do, but what I'm saying is we could do better. That's my judgment. But we could do better when it comes to service
Product.
oriented products. I mean, service oriented. So it could be right or wrong. So it's a right or wrong answer.
Nevinti, I think we lost you
Uh,
slightly.
I'm there. Sorry, hello? Hello?
You could offer okay, we are back. So I have the last question,
Yeah,
Nevindi.
sure. Yeah.
The last question is, if someone wants to get into PR industry, you said you are going to give some names of some books.
Yes, I will. I hope you can hear me clear because I think my power
Yeah.
is a little low.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
great. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah. I
I've
can
been
hear
going
you.
through the most of
No
difficult
problem.
day today. So when it comes to PR, I would like to recommend. I would like to recommend few names. Scott Cutlip. I'll give the names out and maybe I'll do a post as well for you. Scott Cutlip and Dale Carnage. There are authors who have done pretty well in terms of their PR, journey. So it's always best to look through their journey, how they have achieved their PR and marketing backgrounds, as to what they have done, how they have disrupted the industry. And also when it comes to books, I have a book called Guerrilla PR. That's a very important
Oh,
book that you need to definitely read. And practice of public relations. So I'll be sending the names out on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I can help you if you want to ask about more about PR. Definitely message us, email us. We will support you
yeah.
on that.
So,
And
yeah,
what was your last question?
yeah,
Job opportunities, right? You were saying.
yeah, yeah. If somebody wants to get into PR industry,
So I would say if you have the thirst of, how do I say, doing different things, because PR is such an exciting job for me. Talking, meeting new people, networking, it's just like advertising. But the difference is you have a very good chance of doing different and great things. I will
okay.
definitely post stuff about what PR is all about. But this little conversation that we had today gave us only the components of what we are doing and what PR is. It's not. It is about establishing relationships, but at the same time, media, getting involved with media is very exciting, and doing journalism. So it's a very exciting journey for me, and I would recommend to learn about PR because it's not only going to be a small component of marketing. It is big now. It is a big industry. In Sri Lanka itself, we have more than 20 proper PR companies. There are a lot of seniors that I look up to. I talk to certain people, and I would like to say that a lot of PR gurus in the world inspired me as well. There are a lot of names in Sri Lanka. Also, advertising industry really inspired me to be who I am today. So yeah, I mean, definitely, if you have a big mouth to talk, if you're challenging, if you have the thirst, definitely get into PR. It's like marketing.
Yeah. Okay, Nevindi. So if anyone wants to get connected with Nevindi's PR company, it goes as the Good PR. So go to the goodpr.com and get connected with her. And we also have one more comment, maybe because you are also in a situation with your battery. We have Shane Vikramathilaka, a communication specialist from Sri Lanka. Great to see such a successful lady as Nevindi and great mentor as Amita. Okay, communication is evolving, no doubt. Wish you much luck to good PR. Shane, another top communication expert in the country. Thank you, Shane, for joining us.
Definitely,
So,
yes.
I think we need to, say goodbye to our fans, and let me announce the person who is getting a book today. It is Asita Vikramarachi. Asita, please
Wow,
inbox your details. You will be
that's
getting a
amazing.
personal development book, uh, courtesy of Pick a Book. Please inbox your messages. So, Nevindi, thank you very much for joining the show, and
Thank you very
we
much.
hope
I have
to
one thing
see
to
your
say
work.
before we
Yep.
wind up, maybe a thing. I would like to say thank you, sir, for inspiring me when it comes to marketing. You were one of my first lecturers in my marketing school. So, I mean, I have learned a lot from him. He's very challenging and very exciting person. And also, Mr. Shane, I remember what we did, like, creating the communications plan. It was very exciting. I learned a lot from you guys. I think because of you, you are also a part of my success. And thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be in conversation with Amita Gamani. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. And I wish
Thank you.
uh, our fans a happy Independence Day, whoever is joining from LinkedIn, Facebook, and on YouTube. Next week is going to be very exciting. I'll be bringing the Chief Human Resources Officer of Demos. Then we will have HR Director of Pizza Hut. And then we will also have a top person from learning and development side and another CEO. So if you go to my LinkedIn, you will see those details. Please do join next week also about to learn about the future of HR, especially with this pandemic. So thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.